you, everybody, and thank you for taking some time out to be here. I'm here to talk about busting the barriers to implementing risk management. I put this presentation together because in talking to people about risk management, there seemed that there were a lot of barriers that people face in their organizations, on their projects, and this is to address those. So we know we want to do risk management, but how do we do it? How do we overcome those barriers? We're going to talk about project risk management. Why aren't we doing it? We're going to talk about barriers, lots of barriers, tools for busting them, and then plans for implementing risk management. So our agenda, first we're going to define risk and risk management. I always like to start out with that just so that we're all on the same page. Then we're going to talk about why we do risk management. Then we're going to talk about what I call the 4 Ps of project risk management. And then we'll talk about the project risk management process, planning for implementing it, and then we'll do a summary. About some foundations. As project managers, we've heard of risk management, but how much of it are we actually doing? If we know what risk management is, it's valuable, why aren't we doing more of it? In this presentation, I'm going to address the hurdles that implementing risk management has and provide you with tools and techniques to bust these barriers to implementing risk management in your organizations and on your projects. By talking about the project constraints, there's time, cost, and scope, as we know. And fundamentally, what the triple constraint says is that 2 of these are we can only select 2 of these, and then the other is defined by that. So it's really important in understanding that, especially with risk management. There's uncertainty with scope, cost, and time. And if those change, for example, if scope changes, then time or cost is going to need to change. And this is a challenge for most of our projects. We're often given a scope, and we're given a budget, and we're given a time frame. And then usually what happens is the scope increases, and then we're asked to do it in the same amount of time with the same amount of money. And we know that if we do that without changing the budget or without changing the schedule, we increase the scope, that it will affect our quality. So we can see how risk plays a part in all of this. So risk is about the uncertainty associated with these project objectives. Obviously, we don't want the quality to be less than optimum, less than what the customer expects and what customer satisfaction requires. With that, we want to use risk management to manage the uncertainty around scope, cost, and time. Let's define it. A risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on at least one objective of the project. So risk is not necessarily a threat risk. There are also opportunity risks, and that's something that's important to remember. If a risk is a threat risk, it would result in an issue. If a risk is an opportunity risk, it would result in a benefit. So opportunity risks are positive and threat risks are negative. As project managers, we probably spend a lot more time on threat risk because we want to make sure that we deliver on time, within scope, and within budget. We detail risk is probability and impact, and those together give us risk exposure. Probability is the likelihood that a risk event will occur and that objective will be met or not be met using the current plan, whether it's a threat risk or an opportunity risk. Impact is the consequence of the risk occurring. In the case of a threat, it would be the penalty incurred if the objective is not obtained. So it's important to understand a risk is an event that may occur in the future, whereas a problem or issue is something that has already occurred and you're dealing with right now. Risk management. Risk management is an organized, systematic decision-making process that efficiently plans, assesses, handles, monitors, controls, and documents risk to increase the likelihood of achieving project goals and decrease the likelihood that a risk will become a future problem. Management has us inquire an uncertainty within our projects. What are our project unknowns? What are the known unknowns? Those are risks that we've identified. And what about the unknown unknowns? Those are risks for a project that we have not yet identified. provides us with the capability to quickly and effectively communicate risk information up and down the management chain. And why do we want to do this? Well, if we don't identify a risk, particularly our threat risks, we won't be able to reduce them. And if we don't reduce them, the chance that they will actually become issues and we'll have to deal with that later is much greater. So managing risks, we should be reducing the number of potential issues that we have on our projects. Why are we doing risk management? Well, some of the reasons that we might be doing it is because we're supposed to. You know, the PMBOK guide told us we should, our boss told us we should, our operating procedures at work told us we should, the woman presenting to us told us we should, that would be me. Well, I say to all of that, just do it, not because you should. So why should you do it? Well, if we can know about the future now, how might that benefit us? Keeping the project in strength and balance, time, cost, scope, and quality. If we have risk management, we can do that. You've probably seen the reference to project managers being jugglers, and we're juggling scope, time, and cost while meeting quality requirements. That juggling act occurs inside of risk management. Risk management is not something you do after the fact. You do it while you're estimating your scope, your cost, and your time. Sometimes I think we look at the PMBOK, and because risk management is in a later chapter, I believe it's 10 or 11, we think that after we define the scope, the cost baseline, the schedule baseline, then we do risk management. No, we're actually doing it while we're defining those. Anytime we see the word estimate, anytime we're dealing with the uncertainty around scope, cost, and time, that's when we're doing risk management. So, other reasons why we do it, we want to learn what we don't know that we don't know, right? So one of the ways we do that is we involve the team, we involve stakeholders in understanding what potential issues are for the project and also even potential benefits, which would result in an opportunity risk definition. We also want to deal with reality. Ignoring threat risk does not stop them from occurring. So we really want to deal with what's so and do our best to reduce potential issues for the projects, which would be called threat risk. Also, we want to plan for potential problems or successes for our projects. So when do we do risk management? Well, we want to do it on all projects. We want to identify all potential problems so that we can efficiently manage project resources. We want to reduce threats for our project. We want to increase opportunities. We want structured and systematic review for our projects. We want to use risk management for decision making, particularly quantitative analysis can be used for decision making. We want to use risk management for system improvements and for project communication. So if there's something to escalate or communicate, or if there's a risk that we need to elevate to someone else in our organization, to the portfolio or to the program, so that they can help us deal with that risk, that's a really important part of risk management. So what are barriers to implementing project risk management, to actually doing this thing that we know we ought to be doing? Well, for one, I hear a lot of there's no buy-in from others. My boss doesn't agree with risk management. The project sponsor doesn't want to spend time on it. The company or organization that I work for doesn't think it's that value added. So time, money, maybe we don't have requirements to do it. There's no the driving need that's telling us to do that within our organization. Or we don't have a plan for how we're going to do risk management. Let's talk about the 4 P's of project risk management. And the first one we're going to talk about is the pain or the possibility. So I'll talk about each of those. So first, we start with the pain.